So we have quite short, limited time for this panel, so I won't do introduction. I will do the introduction for you when I'm asking the questions. But my first questions actually goes to Jennifer. And Jennifer, you are from Thailand, from the AWC, Asset World Corporation. You are a member of the TCC Group, one of Thailand's most prominent conglomerate in business in retail, wholesale, hospitality, and commercial properties. And you are building up a sustainable future. And actually you have a statement in your corporate vision, which is to build sustainable value in the long run for our stakeholders. So what is AWC's commitment in sustainability in the hospitality sector? And how do you integrate all these initiatives to support the broader economic development?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. You know, I'm sure that many of you have started the day very early, so we'll try to make this session as exciting. Just earlier, we actually held a press conference, and what was very clear from that session was that as Kun Doug has just mentioned, sustainability, tourism is a big, broad blanket word. So every company, no matter what industry you're in, has had to find some type of blueprint to be able to develop these kind of strategic pillars. You can call them the 3 T's, the 3 B's, the C's. So you can have something that you can articulate and really bring sustainability initiatives from the really top upstream level of corporate business to actually every day. For Asset World, our mission statement is to build a better future, right? But when you really take away that layer, what it truly, truly means, it means that even though we can seem as this big real estate property developer with massive assets, in reality, that trickle-down effect of sustainability as a value stems from everything that we do. Starting number one with a framework for us that is the 3 betters: better planet, better people, and better prosperity. Sounds a little bit, well, you know, I've read that in every type of brochure today, so how's it different? For us, it's very clear. We are the largest luxury hospitality owner in Thailand. We own 22 hotels, but also we have very interesting dynamic assets within the retail, commercial, and wholesale business. What that means is that we are lifestyle. We're destination, so people come and actually live and spend or play and stay within our assets. For us, when we think about a better planet, we think about how do we create programs that are tangible, right? Not only in terms of property development and trying to make sure that we care about biodiversity, that we submit to S&Ps, we're #1 score, and we do all the formal, right? But we have one program in particular that I'm very excited that's called Stay to Sustain. And what this does is, if you actually do stay at a AWC hotel, you actually are entitled to support all the local communities. We support 168 of them to protect the forest. We partner with the Thailand Tourism Authority and with the Mai Phuong Luang Foundation to make sure that these communities actually get invested in to protect their forest. We take it one step further and allow their farmers and their artists to be able to develop uniquely sourced products that then they can take to market, allowing that sustainability. So that goes into the people side. The other part at the end goes to the prosperity. And how do you bring prosperity when you're like a really big company? You do it with very humble beginnings. You decide to invest into these communities and open up shops to allow artists to show their products to the premium high-level luxury hotels again. How do we do that? We have a retail store that's called The Gallery. The Gallery is the art of giving or giving art. We actually source more than 200 artists, and we select and curate their products, and we sell them at a better price inside of our hotels. So that's creating that ecosystem. And last but not least, digital. I think we're talking about digital innovation and transformation. At the end of the day, if we're not clear about the value proposition that you do on digital, it can become quite gimmicky, and I'm sure many of you have tried and tested one of these. For us, we have a platform that's called Pikun, and Pikun allows you to actually source these goods, be able to buy these products, but more importantly, if you are a global traveler and you're coming into Thailand, allow you to utilize the application to be able to earn and burn without having to utilize cash. And that's something that we all encounter. What I want you guys to take away is that it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You can be a big real estate, you can be an NGO, but if you don't actually plan critically and invest logically into the efforts on sustainability, we won't be able to do it. And we can't do this alone, we do this with partners. And that's the last part. For partners, for us, very critical that we share the same values, that we try to ensure that we not be able to do this alone, but that we can collaborate to build a better future. So, thank you, Kat.
Thank you, Jennifer. Looking forward to stay in AWC hotels.
Hopefully.
Everywhere, yeah. And then you talk about the platforms and platform with partners. Then obviously I book my hotels on OTAs. So my next question goes to an OTA practitioner here, Nadia from AirAsia Move. So you are building up your app, you are building up your sustainable travel capacity. So what, in your mind, is your future blueprint for sustainable travel? How you capture all these interaction between the hotels, the merchant, and the end users? Could you share your experience with us?
Thank you so much, Zhang, and it's such a pleasure being here. Look, I am not a sustainability expert. Our focus is and commitment is on affordable and inclusive travel. We are squarely targeted on the middle income traveler, and it's very interesting that when you focus on value and when you focus on inclusivity, somehow sustainability comes into play. For our customers, what is important is that travel is cheap. Yeah, so if somebody is wanting to go to Samui, yeah, pretty expensive, but we can make other suggestions which are beaches like Samui, and you don't have to pay that much for it. So that's how we are doing it to create value, but it's also helping with over tourism. Similarly, we have flights going, and at the last moment, seats are empty. And we are basically asking every airline to pitch in their last empty seats so that we can sell them, and it's cheaper, and the flight goes full. So the carbon footprint of every person flown is reduced versus empty seats. When our customers and travelers are going, they want to save money on food, on shopping, so we are creating all the hacks of what are the it places in street food as well as local shopping. And each one of them, when you eat local, the carbon footprint is very low on it because the entire transportation is literally next to zero. It's basically the small food vendors that you are providing in terms of income. And also when it comes to shopping, it's again going back to the local artisan. So what we are focusing on is smart travel. The smart way to travel is to travel to places which are kind of like hidden gems, and the smart way to shop is to buy into local authentic merchandise, get the authentic street experience, and this way we believe that we are fulfilling our customer need, but we are also doing it in a much more sustainable way. We do believe that the time for big brands, big food is gone, and the great news about Asia is that when we are young, we are told not to waste. Yeah, so we've grown up in families where we do not throw away food. Somebody eats it. If nothing else, at least pets or even, little birds, we would give it to them. We would never throw away food. When it comes to electricity, we are conserving it. We are used to being in the fan. So it's a very different dimension in Asia when it comes to sustainability versus US. So what I see is that in the US, if you want to travel sustainably, you have to pay extra. I feel that in Asia, if you want to have authentic experiences, it will be sustainable. So that's how we are approaching it.
It's a very good point. Travel sustainability is not paying extra, but actually just travel locally, travel organically. I think that's a very good point. I think Richard has some comments to make.
Yeah, so Richard Joe here from Conservation International. We're one of the big environmental NGOs of the world. We work on conservation work all over the world, mostly in the global south. We have programs in Asia, in Africa, in the Americas, and we work where the biodiversity is, in the global south, in places like right here in Singapore, in Indonesia, in Southeast Asia. And the amazing thing about sitting here on this panel is, I'm sitting here with the an asset owner, a real estate, focused, and an airline and travel, OTA, as a conservation NGO. And that's, and with Ant International, this giant technology company that's ruling the world.
In partnership with Dana.
Of course. But these are the kind of partnerships we need going forward in the world. These non-traditional ways to work together. Because at the basis of all these things, whether it's sustainable tourism, getting authentic experiences, giving your experiences to people who are in your properties, nature is the fundamental common denominator. Nature, especially in a pure and healthy state, is something we all need. Like, we need it for the air we breathe, we need it for food, we need it for water, and it's really taken for granted. And that's something that CI, Conservation International, is built on, is that simple principle: people need nature. And whether it's the local people who live in and around a very special place for biodiversity that they want to go and visit and see something like whale sharks, and we've got a great new partnership with Ant to really put that out in the public. How do we protect something like whale sharks? But how do those people benefit from people visiting? And how can we do that in the most sustainable way possible? How can the local people benefit from people visiting? And these shouldn't just be rich people. They should be people every day who can go out and do something and get something for themselves personally in nature, but also give back to the people who live in and around nature and are the managers and protectors of nature. And that's what sustainability is all about for us.
Thank you, Richard. And we heard from a bigger hospitality group. We heard from travel OTAs. We heard from NGOs on natural preservation. So what's our thoughts on sustainable travel?
Wow,
things?
there's very little thing I can say that there already haven't been said by these distinguished ladies and gentlemen over here. But I think when we talk about ESG, it's very important not just talk about ESG in a way of how you can create something that is impactful or how you can offer something sustainable. But you need to actually also go back to the very basic, is what kind of commitment that you have to make sure that your organization can be sustainable. I think that's the key here, because when you talk about technology, all right, when you talk about, for example, fintech, technology, digital payment, digital economy, sometimes people get a bit of a bad rap. It's like, are you wasting a lot of electricities? Are you using a lot of energy? Are you producing a lot of carbon footprints? Because, for example, and when we talk about a few things of the recent technology, we talk about blockchain and we talk about AI, we're now has been hearing that they burn so much of computing power, right? And this is something that everyone in an organization should also take into account and understand, that all of us as the institutions actually have a commitment. We have to commit that we want to produce a much more efficient way of providing a platform that can be sustainable. So we have to measure, we have to take into account, like for example, in our case, right? Every transactions that's done in our platform will over time become better and better in taking less energy. Like I can say for a fact right now that our platform per transaction level already 3 times better than Visa and Master in terms of energy consumption. Right. And we're still improving on month-to-month basis. And then, so that, when you take into account, then you started to also think, is that what kind of more sustainable services, what kind of more service, like products that we can offer our customers. Like, for example, right, MSMEs, definitely they're going to be beneficial in using a digital platform. Why? Because you have less waste. If you travel, when you do pay with cash, do you remember that every time you have coins or, right? Or some cash that you bring back and then you put it in your home and you forget about it and then it accumulates over time. It's just becoming more and more. That's a lot of waste. And if you talk about, producing cash and coins, you're burning trees, you're burning all of this, materials. And just to go to waste, then with digital, all of these are gone immediately. It's become much more efficient. Right? There's so many things that we can discuss and talk about, but first, the most important is the commitment from every one of the institutions to actually goes to this sustainable, or ESG initiative.
Thank you, Vince. The fact that you are here presenting your organization is a commitment already, and this is a call for everyone to take actions. And if there's one final word before we close this session, you want our audience to take that away from today's panel, what will be that one key word from your respective background? Maybe I'll start with Jennifer.
Now, I'm going to steal this one from Carrie today. When you think about sustainable tourism, it's no longer about bringing people to beautiful experiences or journeys or even trying the best street food, but it's about purpose. So for me, purposeful is definitely what's super clear and what travelers and younger generations and even like what I call the old young people, like myself, which is over 50, but believe that I feel young at heart, that's become more purposeful with regards to my travel.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Mine is nature.
Your nature.
And you know, I get back to this idea, people need nature. And the people that live in and around nature, some of these MSME owners that we were just talking about, that are driving the economy, they need to benefit from nature in a sustainable way so they're not incentivized to overfish and destroy nature around them. They need to be able to make a just and earnest living, you know, from nature and not degrade it. But you know, everybody needs nature as well. It's like we need to be out in nature for our own personal benefit, and that can be so restorative. So that in tourism is a win-win for everybody if you can do that and have these experiences and work with great companies that can actually help us provide these experiences.
Thank you, Richard. Nadia?
For me, it's about inclusivity. It's delinking sustainability from money. Having more money or less money is not the reason why there will be sustainable practices or a lack of it. So those are the solutions we need to work towards.
I think I've said it many times already, but commitment.
Thank you. Thank you for the commitment. Thank you for the commitment for all our panelists on this panel. And we'll take that away, and hopefully one day I'll be able to travel via the booking from AirAsia Move and to stay in an AWC hotel and with a project linked to Conservation International, but paid by Alipay Plus via Dana's code in Indonesia. Thank you very much. Thank you.